Welcome to the World Series edition of Zany Baseball. I'm Zane.
I am Zane.
And he has never seen this movie.
Probably a good thing.
Yes. Welcome to Zany Baseball World Series edition, where we have the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians.
It's time.
It is the end of maybe civilization.
Probably.
Could be.
Well, when the Cavs won the NBA Finals, my grandpa was like, "They're never gonna win. They're never gonna win. It's impossible for them to win." And then they won, and then he said they're gonna burn the city down. So I think if Cleveland wins, they're definitely gonna burn the city down.
They might, and Chicago might do the same thing. People were pretty crazy when they had the last out on that double play ball.
Yeah.
And the city went crazy. They have not seen the World Series, at least for the Cubs in Chicago, since 1945.
Wow.
And it is, they've not won the championship since 1908.
Yeah. And the Indians were 48. Since the last time they won the World
Series in 1948, and the last time they went to the World Series in 1997. I remember it well. I was in Korea at the time, stationed in Korea, watching on Armed Forces Network, and was watching the climactic ninth inning when Jose Mesa blew the save, and the Marlins won the championship.
Wow. Sounds pretty, you said anticlimactic.
The climactic. It wasn't it was anticlimactic for Indians fans, I guess. Did you ever see the last inning of that game?
I've probably seen it somewhere, watching some videos, but I don't know if I really got the context of all of it. So.
Edgar Renteria with the single up the middle. I believe it was Charles Nagy that was on the mound at the time. So he was Jose Mesa blew the save. Nagy had come in. He was a starting pitcher. Sort of a sort of a fifth starter. Came in, Renteria up the middle. Marlins win the World Series. Jim Leyland, the former manager of the Pirates, was the manager of the Marlins at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
John the Rock Wayner won a World Series ring on that team.
A lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot of history with these two teams in the World Series, but certainly, yes, there's some.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but it's two historic franchises that are going to be playing it out. But it was interesting how they got here. So the Indians were quite decisive in their victories over the Red Sox and over the Blue Jays.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even on the Cubs side, there was some pretty lopsided games, but I think the Indians were just dominant. Like, I think they had, bless you, they hadn't lost a game until like the third game of the championship series, and then they finally lost, and then they just won the next game. So like they were just undefeated until that point.
Well, I picked the Blue Jays from the beginning of the year. I liked them a lot. They have a really good team. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep that team together for next year with Encarnacion and Batista and Donaldson and Tulowitzki and stuff. So there's a lot of really good players. So this might have been their chance. Russell Martin. Some of those guys will be back, but some of those guys are free agents, so it'll be interesting to see if the Blue Jays are able to keep them. If they're not, we'll see where they go next year. But the Indians made really quick work out of them.
Yeah, definitely. They, I think it was pretty interesting. Almost, I think it was the second or third game, Trevor Bauer had like a cut on his hand and like went one inning, not even.
It wasn't Bauer, was it?
Yeah, it was Trevor Bauer, I'm pretty sure.
Nah.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. I don't think that's his name. Corey Kluber. I was thinking Corey Kluber.
Yeah.
Trevor Bauer.
Trevor Bauer had the cut. Yeah.
Yeah, he was bleeding all over the ball.
Yeah, and I read something. It was like the first time like a pitcher in the World Series went less than one inning, and like all the other times, like it was just because they were giving up runs left and right. But this was like a little bit of a different situation.
Right.
But, I mean, the Indians' pitching's just been great. I mean, they've been having some shutouts.
Yeah, without some of their horses and stuff, too. Salazar has been missing from that starting rotation, and so, a lot of other guys have been hurt. So it's sort of been a patchwork starting staff, but Andrew Miller's been lights out. Was the ALCS MVP, and it's just been lights out from coming out of the bullpen.
And I find it funny that Chapman was a Yankee in the beginning of the year, and then Miller was a Yankee in the beginning of the year. The Yankees didn't make the postseason, but yet somehow they're both in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, Miller's been really good. Francona's been using him for more than one inning. He's been using him early, fifth, sixth inning.
And that's what we didn't see from the Orioles in the wild card game.
Right.
You have your best pitcher.
Yep.
And
Zach
you just kept him
Britton,
in the bullpen.
Wondering when are they going to do it. And they bring in Ubaldo Jimenez, and you could tell from the first pitch that he was not the guy that they needed to hang on to that game in extra innings. And I think he threw only a couple pitches and just got blasted. Game over.
Yeah. So Terry Francona is obviously one of the better managers. I believe when Clint Hurdle won Manager of the Year in the NL, Terry Francona also won Manager of the Year in the AL.
Right. Well, he's been a good manager. Obviously, he's done a good job with the Indians. Did a great job with the Red Sox before that. So Francona is used to getting the Red Sox. He brought the Red Sox. They had historic failure. They hadn't won the World Series for decades, and he took them to their first World Series. And so he's trying to do the same thing for the Indians.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously Madden's trying to do the same thing for the Cubs. Now, he never took the Rays all the way, and the more I've gotten to see him in the National League, the more sort of just smug and I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess he was kind of funny and cute when you didn't really see him all the time, and then when you see him 19 games a year, you're like, that guy is like.
Yeah, I think we can both agree we're not Joe Madden fans.
No, not since I got to see him more up close and personal. So.
Yeah, I mean, with the Rays, you'd see him and he was an iconic figure, but, now that he's with the Cubs, especially a team that's a rival of the Pirates, too, seeing him, like you said, 19 games a year, it's
right. Well, and the other thing about the Cubs is they are so young and so good. So, their pitching staff is stacked. Their bullpen is stacked at least at the very end.
Yeah.
And they are young with, Baez and Bryant and Russell, Rizzo. They're talking about Schwarber coming back.
Yeah, really.
Their
entire team is stacked. That's the only word I can think of is stacked. Up and down. There's no, in their lineup, there's no free out. And in their pitching staff, there's no free hit. So it's like
they're really good. I like, So we talked in the playoff preview. It was 32 ESPN experts, and I think 18 of them or something had picked the Cubs.
Yeah, when it's over 50%, that's something.
I checked it again today. They had 30 experts with their predictions up, and 25 of them picked the Cubs to win the World Series.
Jeez, man. Wow.
Which means when they lose, it'll feel that much more painful.
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned it in previous videos, but my dad's side of the family is Pirate fans, but my mom's side of the family is Indians fans. So we're kind of got a Indians garb on and kind of rooting for them.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine from Cleveland, keeping an eye out for tickets, although I was looking up tickets. Games 1 and 2 were averaging in Cleveland $1,200 a ticket, and in Chicago for games 3, 4, and 5, they're averaging $7,000.
It's crazy.
For a ticket to the World Series. I guess when you haven't been there in
long time,
70 years or something, I guess you pay top dollar for it. But
yeah,
jeez, oh man.
It's an old stadium too, and they don't have probably as many seats as the other stadiums do. I wouldn't think. So.
No, not like some of the big stadiums. They definitely don't have quite as much. So yeah, listen, people are going to be crazy looking for tickets.
Yeah.
The Cubs. The Cubs looked pretty good the whole way too. They started with the Giants, right?
Yeah.
And then the Giants, seemed like they were giving them a good run, but then they
couldn't put them away, and then the Cubs just came back.
Right, couldn't sustain it, and the Giants were strong. Or the Cubs were just overpowered them, and then in the Dodgers series, Dodgers get up 2-1. And then Kenti Maeda was like, he was perfect, I think, through the first 3 innings. And Ben Zobrist, who's a player that we both like a lot, who's out of Dallas Baptist University, leads off the 4th inning with a bunt base hit, and it just snowballed. They scored a couple runs there. They broke open the floodgates because they hadn't scored in the 2 games previous, where Kershaw had pitched and Hill, I think, had pitched, and so they were shut out 2 straight games, and it seemed like they were struggling. They were shut out in game 2, shut out in game 3. Didn't have a hit or base runner for the first 3 innings of game 4. Zobrist gets a bunt base hit.
That's all it needed.
And that was all it needed. Like, it got everything going, and so that was a smart play. Got a base runner, and it turned the tide of the series. I heard a couple interviews that they were talking. Madden was talking about it, and he was just talking about how that was really a huge turning point. So.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you think that the big home run is going to put you over the top, but sometimes it's the little bunts that go 20 feet that can start something, like you said, snowball, and just continue to pile on base runners and base runners and base runners, and that's what gets you runs.
Well, it certainly has been working. I mean, the Cubs have done a good job of just getting a guy on, stealing a base, and getting a guy home with a single or a double, and then they got guys that can hit the long ball. So listen, it's going to be a really challenging series for the Cleveland Indians. But I don't know. What have you started to think about this series? So are you taking the Indians as an underdog? Are you taking the Cubs as the favorite? Are you doing more with your mind or more with your heart? I mean, and I don't know if we should really listen to you. Your playoff predictions were
bad.
Yeah, I was thinking, that's the word I was thinking.
Bad, yeah, it was pretty
awful,
bad.
Isn't that bad?
Awful, okay, yeah, that's a little
horrible
far. That
range.
Yeah, that's enough. Anyway, no.
I picked the Giants, and they won at least. And then I wanted to keep going with I thought the Cubs would beat the Giants, but I stuck with the Giants to go through that series. And then the Dodgers playing the first series.
Dodgers.
Nats.
Yeah,
I thought
Nationals.
the Nats were going to win that series.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I got this buddy at school that I've been talking with every day, and it's like, when the Indians were doing so well, like they hadn't lost a game, he's like, it's going to happen. Indians are going to win it all. And I'm like, I really hope that happens, I mean, the other side of my family, being Indians fans and all, but I just want to see the Indians do well. I mean, the Cubs have had over 100 wins this year. It's time for them to be humbled, I think,
Well, listen, the Cubs have been close before. They had really good teams in the late 80s, like the sort of the Leon Durham, Andre Dawson sort of Cubs. And
okay, wait. You said okay, never mind. I was thinking of something else. You said when the Marlins won the World Series, but I was thinking in the 2000s when the Bartman issue happened.
Well, that was in 90. What year was that?
Was that this? No, it couldn't have been. Could it?
It was against the Marlins.
Was that the same year?
It was, I think, because Moises Alou was playing for the Cubs then, playing left field, and then I believe that might have been the same. That might have been the series.
I think so. And then the Marlins went on to win against the Indians.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Marlins went on to win against the Indians. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is true. We'll have to check that for sure, but I think that is correct. Steve Bartman. Here's the thing. Something always happens to Cubs.
Something always happens.
Bartman, they thought they had that game in the bag. They blew it. So there's the Bartman game. They have like all these different, curses or whatever that they're called, like the curse of the Billy Goat and all these things. All these things that like have happened to the Cubs.
And you just can't put it away.
Right. So it's like you would think that
something bad's going to happen again.
Something bad is going to happen. So the question is something bad going to happen to the Cubs, or are they going to reverse the curse and become World Series champions for the first time since 1908? 7-game series. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to go... Well, my first thoughts are like, one team's going to sweep the other. It's just going to be a lopsided event. But then my second thought is like, it's going to go like 6 or 7 games. Like, just with the pitching staffs and the offense. I think it's just going to go. It's going to be a long battle. It's going to be a 7-game series.
Well, so here's a couple different ways that this thing could go down that could be painful for the Cubs. They could win the first 3 games and then get
lose the next 4.
swept the next 4.
That would be awful.
They could just get swept all 4 games. They could have a lead in think about, again, talking about sort of like these cursed teams. The 85, 86 Mets were up on the Red Sox. Game 6, the ball goes through Bill Buckner's legs. The Mets go on to score, and then they win Game 7. So, could something crazy happen with the Cubs up in Game 6 and they just lose Game 7? Could that something crazy happen in Game 7? There's a lot of painful ways that the Cubs could go down in this thing still.
Yeah, but I think you also have to remember that the same stuff can apply to the Indians too. But like you said, the Cubs have just not found ways to lose, but there's always been something.
Right.
But I think my predictions are it's going to go 6 or 7 games, and in those 6 or 7 games, they're going to be close. I think maybe one blowout by the Indians, possibly getting to one of their starters, maybe like a 10-4 ball game or something like that in there somewhere along the way. But I foresee the rest of them being close. They both had their fair share of shutouts in the previous series, so I think there's probably going to be maybe 1 or 2 shutouts in the World Series too.
Lester, Lackey, Arrieta, and
Hendricks.
That's like the 4 kind of guys that you want going into a World Series, man. Those guys.
And that's the thing where they could get the sweep. Just 4 games, just put them away.
But I don't think that Arrieta's been quite as strong, obviously, as he's been last year. Lester's been really good. Hendricks has been great. Lackey, I think you can get to Lackey, although he's won World Series before.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I guess, I want to pick the Indians, so I'll probably pick with my heart and go with the Indians, and I'll probably think it's going to go 7 games because it seems difficult to
decide it. It's difficult to decide it in just 4 or 5 games.
It seems hard to think that the Cubs are going to lose. Could lose. It just feels like they're going to keep winning some games. Not that they're necessarily going to be dominant or that they're going to win them all, but it seems like if the Indians are going to beat them, they're going to have to scratch and claw. 4 games out somewhere. That the Cubs got 3 in them already. So
definitely. I think I was looking at a thing on MLB.com before we recorded, and it had the spreadsheet, the bar that goes this way or this way compared to the Cubs or the Indians based on the field positions.
Right.
And it was even in right field, shading towards Indians in center field, shading towards Cubs in left field. Shortstop was all Indians. Second base was all Cubs. And it was just going back and forth. And then the thing that really struck me was pitching was all Cubs.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. That's what I'm saying. I think this is going to go 7 games because one of the Cubs is going to have a bad game, but the rest of them are going to be good. And I think the Indians can play with them, in all honesty. Just their raw talent for pitching is just too great, I think, for them to just lose 4 games.
Yeah, I do too. I think they have momentum, and they got a lot of really good players. And
they've had 5 days off now too,
which is not necessarily a good thing. But I think that they're gonna. I think both. I think fans and the crowds are always going to be electric for a World Series game, but I think especially for Cleveland and
definitely
Chicago. Those places are going to be rocking, man.
Yeah,
they're going to be rocking.
Yeah.
So, what's your prediction? So give me a prediction. Give me a prediction on who's going to win, how many games, and MVP, and then something interesting.
A deciding moment or something.
Yeah, something interesting will happen.
Okay, so I'm going to say Indians in 7 games.
Okay.
I think MVP is going to be Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a home run in the 6th inning of Game 7 that just kind of puts the Cubs away.
Yeah.
Like possibly like a close game, and then Mike Napoli just crushes one out of the stadium like he's done before.
Yeah.
You know, like that just like takes the life out of the Cubs is what I'm thinking.
In like a Game 7.
In like a Game 7, not late or anything, but like, you know, 5th, 6th inning just kind of takes the life out of the Cubs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, listen, I'm thinking the same thing, really, to be honest. I think, you know, Indians in 7 if it's going to happen. I think I like Lindor for an MVP as well. I think he's been really good in the playoffs, and I think, you know, obviously that's going to have to continue. And then I think that, same sort of thing, you know, because if the Cubs are going to lose, like if they win, then it's like everything's just out, you know, like the curse is over. But if the curse is going to continue, something painful has to happen.
Yeah.
It's like a Mike Napoli 3-run homer in the 7th inning or 6th inning is something, you know, with the Cubs winning. So the Cubs up 1, Napoli hits a 3-run bomb.
2-run lead, you know, and that you just can't come back from that.
And that's over.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of how I'm playing it through in my head, you know. Cubs starters probably still out there, maybe getting to a higher pitch count. The Indians are making them work.
Right.
And then Napoli just crushes one.
Maybe it'd probably be like an Arrieta for a Game 7 if they're going with, you know, Hendricks,
like that. That would hurt.
Lester, Hendricks, Arrieta, probably Game 3, Game 7. So like an Arrieta, giving up a bomb.
Now, we usually don't do this for predictions, but how about we predict like what would happen if the Cubs were to win? You think just dominance, like sheer dominance from the Cubs?
I think if the Cubs win, I think they're going to win like in
5
or 6 games. I think, because I think they're really good. I think overall, I think that it's the better team. And the thing that makes me scared is that they're so young.
And they're going to be there for a while.
I know. I think they're going to be in it for like the next 4 or 5 years. It just seems like they're poised to take center stage to run off a bunch of championships in NL Central, NL, you know, and Major League Baseball championships. So I don't know. So I don't see them. I don't see them going anywhere soon. I mean, they seem like they are.
You know, it'd be crazy if like they are in it for the next 4 years and they pull a Buffalo Bills where like they lose 4 straight years in the World Series.
That could happen. That would be painful.
Like that would be painful.
That would be painful. That's
now,
possible.
Here's my prediction: if the Cubs were to win,
okay,
you put a thing on Twitter like. This one person videoed their phone like of a back-to-back home runs or whatever.
Right.
And you said, I guess Wrigley Field likes back-to-back home runs. Well, I think there'd probably be something like that, like maybe in Game 7, or maybe probably like Game 6.
Right.
With the Cubs up, and like, you know, 7th, 8th inning, you know, back-to-back home runs.
Right.
And that would be in Cleveland, right? Yeah, that would take the life. That would take the life out of Cleveland too. So.
That might be an advantage, though, for Cleveland getting those last 2 games at home for that reason.
Just the crowd.
Yeah, I think the crowds are going to play a big part in all this.
I mean, it's going to be loud constantly at the stadiums for a solid 3 hours.
Listen, the thing about the Cubs, too, if they get down in Wrigley Field, that place is going to go silent.
Quiet.
And people are going to be like, oh, no, we're going to lose again.
Yeah.
And it's just going to maybe take some of the life out of the team. And so, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see how it goes as far as how the crowds affect the momentum of the series.
Yeah, I mean, watching some of the games, I didn't get to watch too many of the games just for homework and stuff, but what I did watch, like when the Cubs got down, like you can't always tell on TV, but you could tell it got silent.
Yeah.
Like nobody was saying a peep. It's like almost just shock and awe, you know.
Yeah.
But
they a lot of their games were late too. They were playing Los
like
Angeles
8,
and stuff, and they just were playing really late games. Like I just hate Major League Baseball that they start these playoff games so late. It's like
started at 7 like the regular season.
I know. Like people out west can if they miss the first 2 innings, they can listen to it on the radio or something. I mean, it's like.
I mean, the West has like the easiest. Like, you know, when we went to Colorado, you know. Actually got to watch the game like right when you got home. It's like you didn't have to wait.
I know.
It's like, you know.
I know Major League Baseball. They see prime time, they see East Coast, and just do what they do. So it stinks.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
All right, so we're both going Indians in 7. We'll see how she goes. First pitch is tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, I believe.
Corey Kluber and against John Lester. Is that what the? I don't. Last I saw, the Cubs hadn't listed their starting pitcher, but I'm thinking it's going to be Lester, Hendricks, Arrieta, Lackey.
Yeah.
So
sounds about right.
So probably Kluber and Lester.
Yeah.
For game 1. We'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe we'll have to do a mid-series report, but for now, we shall see how she goes. So until we see you next time, I'm Zane.
I'm Zane.
And remember, it's World Series time.